Welcome to the Answer is Yes podcast, where we interview some of the most interesting people that have said yes to opportunities in their life. We hope that through these stories, you can learn to create your own destiny by saying yes along the way. Join us as we explore the new series covering topics such as passion, integrity, and hard work. I'm your host, Jim Riley, and I hope you enjoy these interviews as much as I do. I believe that everyone has an important message worth hearing. Hello and welcome to the Answer is Yes podcast. Thanks for tuning in. I've got a special guest today. I've got Kevin McCarney on the line. Kevin, how are you this morning?
Good morning. Thank you for having me here. I really appreciate it.
You know, not only was I interested in your book and your talk about big brain, little brain, but I was just fascinated by your background, and you're the founder of Poquito Mas Restaurants. How exciting for me to be on the line with you, because I just love that place.
Well, thank you so much. We just celebrated 37 years last week.
Wow. Wow. Well, what's funny, and I guess maybe this is where the extra excitement came from, as my listeners know, I live in Montana, and there's no food choices up here. So when I read about places from my hometown, especially when it comes to Mexican restaurants and what you guys do, handmade tortillas, my mouth starts watering, and I start thinking, God, I wish I was back there for some good food.
Well, someday you'll make it back for a visit, and we'll be ready for you.
No, I didn't realize how many tortillas you guys made a day, and I learned that you made so many that you invented or patented an aluminum corn tortilla press. Is that right?
That's correct. I had to patent it because it was a device that had to be NSF certified, for cleanliness and everything. And we use it at all the restaurants, and I have a couple of people that lease them from me. It was the easiest way to make it to where you wouldn't have to do your hands, so there would be no carpal tunnel. You can press it very easy. A 2-year-old could press out a corn tortilla very easily.
Right.
So we do that, and I feel really grateful. Listen, it took me. I have 8. I can call them now prototypes, but at the time I was calling them mistakes. So, but now I can reframe the venture.
Kevin, what got you into the restaurant business so many years ago?
You know, I grew up in a very, very big family. We were always struggling for food. And so when it came time to go to work in the restaurant business, I've got, this is really good. Severely dyslexic, so I didn't read very well. I didn't do well in school, but I could communicate with people. And I realized in the restaurant business, wow, you just have to work really hard and communicate with people. And I went, I can do that. Mm-hmm. So it was one of those things. I rolled into it, and I was working to 20-hour days for the first 14 years in the business, and I loved every minute of it. I still do. I've been doing this for quite a few years, and I like talking to people. I like interacting with people. I wouldn't do well at a desk because I like talking to people, and I can communicate. And that's what the genesis of the whole book is, how I was communicating with customers and employees, and how can I figure out when we had problems, how do I fix those problems?
It's interesting. I do some life coaching for a younger audience, and oftentimes when I'm asked, hey Jim, what should my first job be? Where should I go? I always refer them to the food service industry, because it gives you the ability to communicate with people, over the counter, face to face, and learn about people's behaviors and habits and how to react to different things. It's such a great training lesson for anything you do in your life.
You're absolutely so right about that. And I feel so strongly. It certainly helped me. It certainly helped somebody who, I couldn't read enough to get into college. So, but I could get along with people, and I could work. And it's like, and you realize that it's a very rewarding profession. There are tough days, yes, but it's a very rewarding. We're the original social network. Yeah. We're where people come to get together with other people. Mm-hmm. And so before the internet existed, this food has always been the greatest connector. And it's just, I like making people happy.
Well, and when you say that, I can't help but think about my my youth at In-N-Out Burger on Friday nights in the parking lot, after the football game, and getting together with everybody. We didn't have Facebook. We just got together in the parking lot.
Exactly. And I think that it wouldn't hurt us to get back to that at some point,
Yeah,
or
wouldn't
or at
that
least add some of those moments in.
wouldn't that be wonderful to see that happen, right?
Yeah.
I don't think the cities would know what was going on if everybody congregated at a restaurant on a Friday night again.
Yeah, it still happens. I mean, it's still a big line at the In-N-Outs around here. So
Yeah,
it's fun to watch. And I really think that, food is going to be that great connector going forward.
you know, I had another thought. I was doing some interviews for In-N-Out with new employees in the Irvine area, and we were right by the college. Extremely educated students were coming in for the job, and it was great to have them. But what was interesting is that their social skills were severely lacking. They might have a 5.0 GPA and a master's here and going for their doctorate, but just they were lacking in their communication skills face to face. And I found it very interesting. And I realized, I think at that point, how important this industry is to help people grow and get out of their comfort zone to interact with others. Like I was saying, over the counter, it's just so important.
Well, we are the first job for about 70% of the people that are in the workforce. It started in restaurants at some point, at some level, hostess to dishwasher. I started off as a dishwasher initially, and we are a great training ground for a lot of different businesses, a lot of different people, and a lot of people have done really well, but grown in this industry and then gone on to other things. So I'm happy to be in the business, happy to still around. It's been a tough couple of years, but we're still here.
Yeah, good for you. Well, Kevin, I love to provide value on these shows, and as much fun as it is to talk about the restaurant itself and hash through that a little bit, your book provides so much insight for communication, big brain, little brain, how to control which one speaks for you. Can you talk about your book, and let's walk through some of these things, because again, I think it's so important to give people the tools to work with.
Yeah, thank you. I saw a pattern in communication from my large family to starting to work in the business, and I started looking at different situations, and I really started to see a pattern of the way people would respond or react to different situations, myself included. And so I started really digging in, and I did a bunch of research. I was a tour guide at Universal Studios for a while, and one tour taught me an incredible lesson. I was given the tour. I was done it for a year or two. I thought I was really good at what I was doing. I'm a snarky 19-year-old kid, and I go in, and it was a hot day. Trams were breaking down. All of a sudden, it's like a 3-hour wait for these people in the sun. I'm in an air-conditioned break room, and I get the call, Kevin, tram on the right. It's yours. They're a group from Europe. They're really angry. Good luck. So I thought, okay, I'm being fed to the lions here. And it was just a kibitzing to talking, but I walked by the tram trying to say hello to everybody, arms crossed, brows furrowed. They were upset. Mm-hmm. And I get to my seat in the front, and the leader of the group grabs my arm. He says, no, take us back to the bus. You have to take us back right now. We don't want to do this anymore. And I go, sir, you're going to have to sit down. That's not my call. And the driver immediately started rolling the tram. So he says, fine. We will sit here, but we will not have a good time. You cannot make us laugh. So my snarky 19-year-old self, you grow into maturity over years, and sometimes you get snapped out of it once in a while. But I wanted to get back at this group of people for yelling at me. And I was thinking, I'm just not going to do a very good tour here. And sat for about a second, and I looked in the front row of the second car that I could see the best is a family from the Midwest. Mm-hmm. They had gotten stuck with this group. They got stuck in the middle of this group. But they were sitting there with smiles on their face. Their big red football jerseys of a town from the Midwest. They were absolutely excited. And same red sunburnt faces, but they were smiling. And I just immediately went, wow, I've got to give these people the best tour I can. I'm going to ignore the 124 negative people around them. I'm going to give these people a great tour. And in a split second, and I didn't know I had that in me, in a split second, I changed. Mm-hmm. I gave these people the best tour I could. Within 10 minutes, A lot of people around them came along on the tour, started laughing. By the end of the tour, everybody was having a good time except for the group leader. And people said he's just grumpy. The entire group was so thankful, came up to me at the end, really appreciated the tour. And the family from the Midwest waited for the whole group to walk away. As that I'm looking down the road, my supervisor is getting off the last car of the last tram, the last row. And I'm realizing, oh, this was an audited tour where they were going to tell me how good I was doing.
Right.
So number one, imagine, okay? But on top of that, the family from Midwest, the father said, son, you really turned that group around because they were angry. And I looked at him, I said, well, I didn't do it. You did it. Your smiles did it. Your smiles gave me permission to change and give a completely different tour because I had to choose to give a completely negative tour before I saw your smiles. And the mom from the Midwest grabs my shoulder. She says, well, we just can't thank you enough for choosing to give us that tour because we will never be able to afford to come to California again. And it just made our vacation.
Wow.
So that knocked me on my head and I went, wow. And she said, choose. And that's when I realized in pressure situations, we still have a choice. I was given their smiles, which helped me pivot. But in every pressure situation, which is what I started studying about interactions and responding versus reacting. So I went into a lot of research on this and found out that the big brain is, that's the neocortex. It's in control. It's all the smart stuff. We know everything up here. It's empathetic. It's kind. It's generous. And it's a good listener. The little brain, which is next to the mouse, that reptilian brain, that primal brain, that fight or flight brain that people call it, that's the one that's going to be impulsive and snarky and careless and really selfish. And it's going to create a lot of mistrust when it speaks. Big brain has to clean up little brain comments sometimes. So what I started doing is really developing this whole idea about how to identify little brain moments, how not to step into the little brain traps that little brain likes to set for us, and how to always keep big brain in control. And as I did this, I developed this out. I was doing presentations for different groups, and I noticed, simply saying big brain and little brain wasn't enough. I had to give people a place to go momentarily, like that family did for me, to where they could pivot. Instead of just saying, just always use your big brain, right? That's too easy. And don't use your little brain. But in pressure moments, it's primal for us sometimes.
Yeah.
So I had to give them a place to go. And so we developed neutral. And neutral is, if you think about fight or flight, neutral is kind of in the center. And neutral is where you get to an instant awareness that, oh, I better take control of this moment because I don't want to let little brain make the comment that I have to clean up. But neutral is that centerpiece. And Viktor Frankl put it so well. He's a neuropsychologist from the 40s, survived 4 different concentration camps. He said, between stimulus and response, there's a space. And that space is where we choose our response. And very much the way the family did it for me, they helped me pivot. Neutral helped people pivot. It's an immediate awareness that, oh, I'd better let my big brain take control. So neutral is that thing that people don't talk about right now. They talk about fight or flight. Well, it isn't just fight or flight. There's neutral. Neutral is a real thing, and we can get there. We all have a neutral word. Mine, sometimes in a very pressure situation, I'll just say, okay, what do we got going here? And sort of use that as my neutral time to sort of focus, like, get your big brain to take control here, especially in pressure situations. You see it all the time on the news now. People are so wound up because of the pandemic that they're overreacting to just about anything.
Yeah.
They're already at a high anxiety level. And so it doesn't take much to elevate, to start their little brain talking. And we've seen too many stories where that's happened. So my goal is to get as many people to neutral as I possibly can so they can pivot to big brain.
It makes so much sense. I couldn't help but think when you were telling the story about that family on the tram. Right now, as you suggested, with the pandemic and what we've been going through the last couple of years, everybody is on high alert. But what's interesting when I travel around town and visit different businesses, they're short-staffed and everybody's struggling together in this.